Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the 7th meeting of the Standing Committee on Health Services. We have a full agenda today. I'd like to welcome all of our guests. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for your interest in all of these topics. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order, and DJ, please take the roll.
Representative Bentley.
Here.
Representative Bratcher.
Here.
Representative Bray.
Yes.
Representative Burke.
Here.
Representative Callaway. Representative Camuel.
Here.
Representative Duval.
Here.
Representative Frazier Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Justice. Representative Neighbors.
Here.
Representative Rayburn.
Here.
Representative Raymer.
Here.
Representative Riley.
Here.
Representative Rourks.
Here.
Representative Sharp.
Present.
Representative Wilner.
Here.
Representative Whidden. Vice Chair Dotson.
Present.
Chair Mosier.
I'm here. Okay, we have a quorum established to do business. We will go ahead and get started. The first bill on our agenda is House Bill 169. I'd like to invite Representative Palumbo and Commissioner Tackett, but for the record, I need for you to identify yourselves. We do have a committee sub. I'll entertain a motion. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the sub, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay. The committee committee substitute, is adopted, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Representative Ruth Ann Palumbo, representing the 76th District in Lexington, Fayette County. The House Committee sub for House Bill 169 only just adds other medical device used to diagnose, prevent, or treat a medical condition that is harmful to student athletes. This bill is a continuation, actually, of House Bill 331 from last session. It's all about saving lives of students or parents or anybody who happens to be near. And this is Commissioner Julian Tackett, whom you all know, who has been advocating this issue for years and years and years.
I will make a motion on the bill.
We have a motion on the bill and a second. I will allow your guests to make any comments, or we will just entertain questions. Okay.
Questions is fine, Representative.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions or any comments? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you for bringing this bill. I think having AEDs and an emergency action plan in every school is critical. We've seen that, we've seen instances of where it wasn't available and the devastating effects of that. And so if we can save even one life, it's worth it. We have set up a trust last year in the previous legislation to accept appropriations and other contributions, but it is my understanding that most schools are taking it upon themselves and creating partnerships in the communities to obtain AEDs. Is that what you're finding, Commissioner?
Yes, ma'am. I think the gap that the sub represents is other devices such as the wet bulb globe that really helps with the heat. It is very broad thinking to get that included as we start this forward.
Wonderful. Okay.
And members of the committee, if in case you didn't know it, your chair has worked diligently on this issue for years. She's been wonderful to work with. This is truly a bipartisan piece of legislation, and I thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you. This is really important to me, and I appreciate all of your work as well. So, and a very bipartisan commitment to keeping kids safe. So, okay. DJ, please take the roll.
Representative Bentley.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Bray.
Yes.
Representative Burke.
Yes.
Representative Callaway. Representative Camuel.
Yes.
Representative Dotson.
Yes.
Representative Duval.
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon. Representative Justice. Representative Neighbors.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Riley.
Yes.
Representative Rourks.
Yes.
Representative Sharp.
Aye.
Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Representative Whitten, Chair Mosier.
I am a yes. Okay. House Bill 169 passes with unanimous support as amended by the committee substitute. Congratulations, and thank you again for all of your work.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Thank you. Okay, next, I'm going to go ahead and skip over 346 for now and go straight to House Bill 459. And I will make my way to the table. If my guests could join me, that would be wonderful.
Representative Whitten, would you like to cast your vote?
Yes, I'd like to register my attendance and cast a yes. Thank you.
Okay. As House Bill 459 is brought to us today, Representative Mosier, state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, committee, for giving us the opportunity to talk about House Bill 459. This is an act relating to the profession of nursing. I am Representative Kim Mosier. I represent the 64th District.
I'm Kelly Jenkins, and I'm the Executive Director at the Kentucky Board of Nursing.
And we do have a committee sub.
We do have a committee sub.
So I have a first and a second on the sub. All in favor say aye. All who oppose, sub is adopted.
Thank you. I'll talk. The only thing that the committee sub did was retain the original provisions, but amended how the appointments to the Board of Nursing are made, removed the bachelor's and associate's degree designation for 4 of the nurse educators who sit on the board. Other than that, it just clarified the board appointments. So what the bill does is creates, first of all, a provisional license for advanced practice register nurse applicants who are awaiting the results of their national board examination. We want to make sure that these nurses are well supervised while they're waiting, but they are also able to work and stay in Kentucky. So that is really that piece of it. It allows APRNAs to practice under the supervision of a licensed APRN or a physician until they become licensed to practice as an APRN. It updates, the bill updates the Kentucky Board of Nursing membership to 17 members, and those members who are actively engaged in clinical practice to serve on the board, and it sets a nomination process. It incorporates advanced practice registered nurses, or APRNs, and certified registered nurse anesthetists, or CRNAs, into the Kentucky Board of Nursing alongside all levels of nursing practice for a more clinical, collaborative approach. As you can see, this bill is supported by the Kentucky Board of Nursing, and I think there's a letter in our packets from the APRNs as well. So I will hand it over to Kelly at this point, and then we'll take questions.
So, currently we have 101,000.
Would you turn your microphone on, please?
Sorry, yes. Currently we have 101,222 licensees. That includes all types of licensees. 74,929 are RNs, 13,620 are APRNs, and 12,673 are LPNs. So you can see, as nursing has evolved from beginning with LPN and RN, we now have exceeded the LPN category with APRN. So what we're trying to do is ensure that we have the experts at the table on the Board of Nursing from all the well-represented organizations that are here in Kentucky, but are also affiliated with national level organizations. And that being the APRN Association, the CRNA Association, and the Kentucky League of Nursing, which is our faculty, our nurse educators, which we have about, 1,400 educators in Kentucky. So it's bringing those experts to the table, and we're also hoping that K&A can put forth clinical nurses who are at the bedside, because that's a voice that we don't currently have on our board coming out of the COVID and the pandemic. And then our shortage that we're facing, I think that's a valuable voice that needs to be at the board level. And we need to find out, why are our nurses leaving the bedside? Why are they leaving the hospitals, the long-term cares, and what can we do to better nursing in Kentucky to keep them here? I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Motion on the bill.
Got a first and a second. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none. DJ, call the roll.
Representative Bentley? Yes. Representative Bratcher?
Yes.
Representative Bray? Yes. Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Callaway?
Yes, and I'd like to record my attendance.
Representative Camuel?
Yes.
Representative Dotson?
Yes.
Representative Duval?
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon? Yes. Representative Justice? Representative Neighbors?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Raymer?
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote. I just want to thank you all for bringing this bill, and as a registered nurse who practiced at bedside in acute care setting, I really appreciate you getting that bedside perspective on the board. I think it's very important. I just want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Rorks?
Yes.
Representative Sharp?
Aye.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Representative Whitten?
Yes.
Chair Mosier?
Yes.
House Bill 459 passed with 18 yea votes, no votes. The same should pass on the House floor. Thank you so much.
House Bill 505?
Yeah,
Okay.
right ahead.
Okay.
Now up is House Bill 505, an act relating to alcohol and drug counselors. You may begin.
Okay. I'd like to invite my guest, Jessica Burke. There you are. Hey, how are you? Good. Thank you for being here. Okay, for the record, again, I am Representative Kim Mosier. I represent the 64th District, and I will allow my guest to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jessica Burke. I am Chief Legal and Government Affairs Officer for Addiction Recovery Care.
So House Bill 505 does have a committee sub, and
I got a motion on the sub, first and second. All in favor say aye. All who oppose? The sub does pass.
okay, thank you. Briefly, all the sub does is says that if for any reason the cabinet is required to apply for a waiver for Medicaid services to CMS, that they do that. So this just directs the cabinet to apply for a waiver should it be needed. So House Bill 505 is an act related to alcohol and drug counselors, and it updates the Board of Alcohol and Drug Counselors, adding members from 7 to 11. It establishes some criteria for registration as a temporary alcohol and drug peer support specialist, and it outlines the requirements. This is in Section 10, and we'll go through that should we need to do that. It updates references to Associate Alcohol and Drug Counselors 1 and 2. It amends requirements for peer support specialists, and it adds supervision, an option of supervision of a registered alcohol and drug peer support specialist with at least 2 years of experience. It adds that individuals must attest to being in recovery for a minimum of 12 consecutive months from their SUD, substance use disorder, and it allows temporary certified alcohol and drug peer support specialists to be reimbursed at the same rate as a normally registered, not temporary, addiction or alcohol and drug peer support specialist. And then it removes the limit on the max number of hours of direct patient care that may be provided by these peer support specialists. I will allow Jessica to elaborate, and we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Representative Mosier. This bill I'm here as the Chief Legal Officer for Addiction Recovery Care, but this bill is coming out of Kairos, which is the provider association here in Kentucky for independent recovery providers. So this is an industry bill. This is not an ARC bill. And really what we are trying to do with this bill, you don't hear this a lot, we are trying to impose additional regulation on our industry. And the reason for that is what we were seeing. First of all, let me say that peer support specialists are hands down one of the most valuable tools that we have in treating addiction. If I tell somebody something, no matter what I have to say, it doesn't have the impact of somebody who can walk up and say, hey, I was where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, look where I am now, you can do this. They're very valuable. But what we have found is that there are various levels of training for peer support specialists, and there is no governing oversight body. Right now, the way the law is written, being registered with the CADC board is completely optional for a peer support specialist. You can either go that route or qualify under 3 other regulations that are require much more minimal standards. And so what we are doing with this bill is asking that all peer support specialists who are working in AODE, BHSO, recovery centers have to be registered with the CADC board. And what this does is ensure that all those peer support specialists meet those minimum requiremts, which is a lot of training, 500 hours of supervision, but also that there's an oversight board. So something that we have run into is say a peer support specialist does something at our facilities, we have to terminate them. If that was a nurse, we would call the Board of Nursing, report that, and that would be on record. With peer supports, if they're not registered, there's no one to report that to. They can go down the road, get a job at another recovery center, and continue bad acting, and no one knows. There's no central registry. So by requiring them all to be under the CADC board, we treat them like any other provider, because they are, and make sure there's someone overseeing their care, making sure that our clients are getting the high-quality care that they need. So that's the point of this. There was a reference to a temporary peer support specialist. That is not something that exists now, but what that would do is allow, since we're requiring all of those peer support specialists to be registered with a CADC board, part of that requirement is 500 hours of actual experience, supervised experience. The peer support specialists could get their temporary peer support credential, and while they were working on those 500 hours of experience, and then once they got those 500 hours, they would get the full. That would still be billable because that is still higher qualification than what is required now. So we're not asking for a lower qualification to be billable. It's actually higher than what's required now. And then there were some other amendments made just to kind of bring everything in line with that higher standard. Like right now, peer support specialists can only have 8 in a group. Every other group is 12, and making those kinds of administrative changes. The other things that are in this bill really are kind of clean up things in the industry. The TCADC, allowing those to work under clinical supervision. Oh, I'm sorry, acronyms. The temporary certified alcohol and drug counselors. Right now, those are recognized in Kentucky, but they're not a billable service on the Medicaid fee schedule. This bill would make those a billable service. The CADC board is ready to issue that credential. They are perfectly ready to oversee that credential as well. The other thing this does is, I don't know who all remembers, but in 2021, this body passed a bill creating a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. That's a 30 hours master's degree that specializes in addiction. That it was because we have licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselors, a 60-hour degree that focus in mental health but not addiction. So we wanted to make those things equivalent. But those are not equivalent right now in the billing and in reimbursement. So this bill would make those equivalent for those purposes. The last thing for us is the case manager. We cannot find enough case managers right now for our clients. And part of the reason is that, well, it's 2 reasons. One, to qualify as a case manager, there's a list in statute of the bachelor's degrees that you have to have. I don't qualify as an attorney to be a case manager, and with my current experience in this job. So this would broaden that to allow anyone with a case or with a bachelor's degree to be a case manager. but does direct CHFS to put in place supervision and training requirements to account for making sure people know what they're doing. We fully realize that someone with a bachelor's degree in finance needs some additional training and supervision to do case management. We leave that up to CHFS to decide what that would be. And then the other thing right now is it requires a year of experience. That's a big issue for us. Again, we've asked that training experience or training and supervision account for that. And then the rest of this bill are changes requested by the CADC board that Representative Mosier has already gone over.
Motion on the bill.
Have a first and a second. Do we have anyone that's wanted to ask a question? I got one real quickly. Taking the board members from 7 to 11, what is the premise behind that?
Sure. The CADC board actually talked to me about that. The premise is because we are adding in the peer support specialists, requiring those to be registered with the board and some of these other things, it's going to increase the workload. And so they feel like they need more members to be able to handle that appropriately.
Thank you for that explanation. We have a first and second on the bill. No questions. DJ, call the roll.
Representative Bentley? Yes, sir. Representative Bratcher? Yes. Representative Bray? Yes. Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Callaway?
Yes, and may I also record a yes vote for 169?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Oh, you have to wait.
Representative Camuel?
Yes.
Representative Dotson?
Yes.
Representative Duval?
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon? Yes. Representative Justice? Representative Neighbors?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Pass.
Representative Raymer?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Rourks?
Yes.
Representative Sharp?
Aye.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Representative Whitten?
Yes.
Chair Mosier?
Yes.
One pass. 17. House Bill 505 has passed. 17 yea votes, one pass vote, and the same should pass on the House floor. Thank you, Representative. Thank you for coming today. Representative Emily, would you like to record your attendance and your vote? We had to wait till after.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I would like to hear House Bill 346. I would like to invite Representative Tate to the table. Please introduce yourself and any guests that you have, and we will proceed.
Thank you, Chair Mosier. I'm Representative Nancy Tate, and I represent District 27.
Representative Emily Callaway, I represent District 37.
So Dr. Firth will not be able to join us today, but I think we have some people that are here to talk in opposition and in support. So I'm sure, you know, we have a video, so how do you like to proceed? I'll let you determine since this is your committee.
Right, yeah. So I thought that you could just do a brief introduction of the bill, and we do have a committee sub. So I'll make a motion on, okay, we have a motion on the sub and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay. So if you want to just briefly explain the bill and what the committee sub does, and then we will show the video. I just wanted to make sure that everyone who is here and interested had an opportunity to see this, maybe clear up some misunderstandings, and so we can all be clear about what we're talking about.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the committee sub basically just removes the language regarding civil action and adds the language age appropriate to add reassurance to everyone. So upon its passage, House Bill 346, to be cited as the Baby Olivia Act, would require school districts to adopt healthy curriculum for students in grades 6 or above that includes instructions on health, human health, growth and development, so human growth and development. This act is important for children and, for that matter, adults to understand human development. There's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding being shared outside of academia. For example, how many people know that the heartbeat can be detected at 3 weeks and 1 day? or that fetus is Latin for human baby. Videos such as Baby Olivia will help educate and communicate these facts and others regarding human development. In a brochure entitled Information About Fetal Development, published by the Kentucky Public Health, dated February 8th of 2020, under the section Week 11, exists the language, "The baby is now officially described as a fetus and will be called this until birth." This brochure acknowledges that the item in the womb is and was a baby even before week 11, when it is medically referred to as a fetus. By showing Baby Olivia, while showing it is not required, it will be an easy start for school districts to use. This was created by Live Action using facts on human development gathered from a detailed database at the Endowment for Human Development. The Endowment for Human Development, also known as EHD, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving health science education and public health. EHD is a resource for governments to use to help everyone appreciate, apply, and communicate the science of health and human development. They are committed to neutrality regarding controversial bioethical issues. In the video, Baby Olivia journeys from fertilization to her first heartbeat 22 days later to birth. She can be seen in the womb at 11 weeks and responding to light at 27 weeks as she prepares for life outside of the womb. As of May of 2023, this video has been seen by more than 50 million viewers since it was released in the summer of 2021, offering an animated glimpse of human life from the first moments of conception, fertilization, and details of preborn child's growth inside the mother's womb. So not only would I like to see this video shown in schools, but I would also like for it to be shown in churches, pregnancy resource centers, and in offices of obstetricians and OGBYNs.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and cue up the video and watch this short video so that there is clarity about what we're talking about.
Thank you.
And that we are talking about an age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate look at human growth and development.
This is Olivia. Though she has yet to greet the outside world, she has already completed an amazing journey. This is the moment that life begins. A new human being has come into existence. At fertilization, her gender, ethnicity, hair color, eye color, and countless traits are already determined. She begins to implant in the uterus about 1 week after fertilization. Her cells organize into what we call an embryo. At 3 weeks and 1 day, just 22 days after fertilization, Olivia's heartbeat can be detected. The buds of her arms and legs appear by 4 weeks. She begins to move between 5 and 6 weeks with both spontaneous and reflexive movements. At 6 weeks from fertilization, her brain activity can be recorded and bone formation begins. She can bring her hands together at 7.5 weeks, and separate fingers and toes emerge. She can also begin to hiccup. At the beginning of the 9th week, Olivia will have grown from a single cell into nearly 1 billion cells, and she is now called a fetus. She will suck her thumb and swallow, grasp an object, touch her face, sigh and stretch. At 11 weeks, she is playing in the womb, moving her body and exploring her environment. Her taste bud cells have matured by week 12 but are still scattered throughout her mouth. Her mother will first sense Olivia's movements between 14 and 18 weeks, an event called quickening. Beginning at 18 weeks, ultrasounds show speaking movements in her voice box. Around 20 weeks, with a lot of help, babies have survived outside the womb. At 27 weeks, her eyes are responding to light. She can recognize her parents' voices and will even recognize lullabies and stories. Olivia has gone on an amazing journey during these last 9 months. She will soon signal to her mother that it is time for delivery and greet the outside world.
Okay. That is the video that we are referencing here. It's an example, as I understand it, of a video on human growth and development, which can be used. Schools or parents or school districts can tailor this to their needs. And there's no set curriculum that goes along with this. There's no... I mean, that's the gist of what we're talking about. So Rep. Tate and Representative Callaway, do you want to take some questions now, or have some of our guests present?
I did just want to add that within this language, we have allowed for parents to opt out of this. So I just want to be clear, this isn't infringing on any parental rights, and this is a recommended curriculum. So I just wanted to make that clear. That was a question.
That's important. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we are not changing the language that's currently any regards to the parents have to be informed. They have to have the opportunity to view this. And then, of course, they can allow or disallow their child to participate.
Right. Thank you. Okay. If you will stay nearby, I will invite some of the folks who have signed up to speak to come to the table. We have Rob, I'm going to say this wrong, Matthew? All right. And I think I'll give everyone around 3-4 minutes if that'll work.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, my name is Rob Matthew, and I am the parent of a daughter who went to public school at JCPS and is currently a senior at UK. It's for her that I'm here to speak out against House Bill 346 and the practice of using faith-based anti-abortion propaganda in our classrooms under the guise of sex and health education. Just last week on Kentucky Tonight, sponsor Tate, in response to a question about Hadley Duvall, the young woman who was last year shared her experience of becoming pregnant after being raped and her support for abortion access, she was asked a question about her, and rather than answer that question, if she was swayed by Hadley's testimony, Rep. Tate called Hadley Duvall broken and asked where were the adults in that situation. Well, I'd like to answer. The adults are here, doing their best to create an environment where we replace legitimate sex education based in biology and common sense and replace it with fear-based propaganda often taught by anti-abortion advocates. It tells kids, especially girls, that whatever happens to them is their fault and they are to blame. And with Senate Bill 150 last year, you and your colleagues created an environment where educators fear addressing any element of human sexuality from abuse to puberty because of bans on sex education in elementary schools. We adults are creating an environment where abusers can use the very shame fostered by this type of sexual education to silence children into not reporting the abuse. And that same shame-based propaganda helps create an environment where rather than listen to the stories of Hadley Duvall and the truth behind them, we dismiss them as broken and move on, complicit in our refusal to do anything about it. While my daughter was in JCPS, another student, Sophia Etten, I believe Miss Wilner was there, shared her experience with health education that was provided, like the video in this bill, by faith-based anti-abortion groups. Sophia spoke of how she was singled out to demonstrate the idea that she was a piece of tape and that every individual she had contact with was making her worth less and would not allow her to, quote, stick to a mate. What this instructor didn't know was that the young girl had recently been raped and that the message of this, quote, health educator was that because of that, her worth as a woman was diminished. Unfortunately, groups like these are still leading sex education courses in our public schools. Pregnancy Center in Boyle County is currently offering sex education courses to several schools in the area, complete with a purity pledge spin that pushes the idea that people are damaged goods if they have sexual contact outside of marriage, even if it's the result of an attack. Is it any wonder that our kids are afraid to discuss abuse with adults? The same view of sexuality has provided cover for abuse, including in the Catholic parishes that I'm sure Miss Tate and both my wife and I attended when we were Hadley's age. The fact is that the Baby Olivia video is not intended to educate our children. If it was, the creators of the video would have based it on facts surrounding human development and biology and not politicized misinformation. It's simply another element of faith-based shaming that makes it clear that the adults in Frankfurt would rather listen to themselves in an echo chamber than recognize the actual courage of people like Hadley and Sophia and the opinions of experts in health and health education. Let's stop this assault on education for political purposes and vote no on House Bill 367 and turn our focus on bills that actually listen to the needs of our children, not special interests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You did a good job of staying under 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, next we have Tamara Weeder.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Mosier and members of the committee. My name is Tamara Weeder. I am the Kentucky State Director with Planned Parenthood Alliance Advocates, and I'm here today in strong opposition to House Bill 346. This bill is nothing but a deceitful move to force factually inaccurate anti-abortion propaganda into our secondary schools disguised as so-called health education. While this bill may not explicitly name the medically accurate Meet Baby Olivia video created by Live Action, House Bill 346 is clearly an attempt to compel showing this medically and scientifically inaccurate video or another like it in our schools. In 3 short minutes, this video makes nearly a dozen false claims, including the assertion that life begins the moment of conception. Not only does scientific consensus clearly reject this, but it is also this misguided assertion that leads to horrifying rulings like what we saw from the Alabama Supreme Court conferring personhood rights to embryos. The video further states that at 6 weeks, fetal brain activity can be recorded. The reality is scientific research clearly refutes that claim. The video also refers to a fetal heartbeat, which is not a medical term, but an emotionally charged term perpetuated by anti-abortion politicians. Finally, at the end of the video, it claims that at 20 weeks, a fetus can survive outside of the womb. The facts are clear. Only 1 in 10 babies born at 22 weeks survive to go home, and that's only after months of intensive care. At 24 weeks, the likelihood of survival increases only to 68%. Our students deserve honest, medically accurate, and impartial sex education, not fear-mongering and disinformation from anti-science special interest groups. The legislature has no place in dictating that our children be subjected to such misleading and biased information. Nothing in this legislation protects Kentucky students from receiving misleading and biased information or stops schools from using fraudulent materials like the Baby Olivia video in their instruction. The Commonwealth severely limits the amount of medically and scientifically accurate information available to our youth regarding their sexual and reproductive health. Without safeguards in place to ensure these human growth and development videos are factual, you are forcing a generation to absorb inaccurate information, which puts their health and lives at risk in the process. Kentucky's children deserve better. Our elected leaders need to prioritize the health and education of our children over the interest of extremist anti-abortion groups. That's why experts from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Public Health Association, and the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists all agree that medically accurate, age-appropriate sex education should be unbiased and focused on the health of our young people, not political agendas. Not only do the leading medical associations agree, so do Kentuckians. 85% of all Kentuckians believe that our children should receive age-appropriate and scientifically accurate sex education. Let's be clear, this bill is dangerously misguided and requires our educators to peddle extremist propaganda to our young people. Please protect our kids and vote no on House Bill 346. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Katie Gardner. Are you here?
Hi, my name is Katie Gardner. I'm a born and raised Kentuckian, and I live in Berea, Kentucky. I've been a registered nurse for 17 years. Over the course of those years, I have worked in labor and delivery, sexual and reproductive health care, as well as in school health. I'm also a parent and a health educator. I'm here to express my strong opposition to House Bill 346, the Baby Olivia bill. Through my work in clinical settings as a school health nurse and as a sex educator, I have provided health education all over the state, from Newport to Somerset, from Pikeville to Lexington. I have seen firsthand how much Kentuckians need and deserve sex education that will help them make healthy decisions and build the futures that they want. The parents, youth, educators, and healthcare providers that I speak to overwhelmingly see the need for and want sex education in schools that is developmentally appropriate, fact-based, and free from judgment and shame. Many of the people I've cared for in medical settings or as a health educator don't even understand their basic anatomy and physiology. But this bill does not help health educators to meet these needs. Instead, it would require young people to watch a highly stylized and misleading animated depiction of human development. Videos like the Meet Baby Olivia have not been endorsed by the leading medical organizations, such as the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Videos like this are biased, scientifically inaccurate, and their intent is to spread shame, stigma, and misinformation about abortion. Over 30 years, public health research has shown that sex education, when taught by national sex education standards, can help young people delay sexual initiation and can reduce their risk for unintended pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. The videos this bill would mandate do not meet these standards. Our young people deserve every opportunity that they can get to build the lives that they want for themselves. They deserve high quality, age appropriate, and medically accurate sex education that will help them achieve this, not the false and misleading videos that House Bill 346 would mandate. While the legislator has yet to meet the needs and wants of many Kentuckians to require medically accurate and age-appropriate sex education in Kentucky's schools per the National Sex Education Standards, House Bill 346 seeks to compel Kentucky students to watch biased, medically and scientifically inaccurate content. The only purpose of this video seems to be to advance anti-abortion stigma and misinformation about human development and biology. This misinformation has no place in Kentucky schools. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next we have on the list Dr. Bencomo. Welcome. Just introduce yourself for the record, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Miranda Bencomo. I was born, raised, and educated here in the state of Kentucky, and I hope to be here for many decades taking care of children as a pediatrician. I'm here today because I do think sexual education is something that we need very badly in the state of Kentucky. And I see that in clinic, in the emergency room, in the hospital, in every rotation that I have been through in my education, that we have a very big gap in education. But I do not think this bill is helpful in meeting that gap. I am concerned that this bill, while it does present a very kind of charming presentation of some of the information, and some of it is fact-based, is also largely based on a philosophical and political ideology that may not be fairly educating our families, our patients, our students. And I think that it targets a specific aspect of growth and development that, to put quite frankly, puts the cart before the horse. We don't have a good education about contraception and family planning and healthy pregnancy maintenance in our expectations right now for sexual education. So I don't see why we would start educating with this video, which is coming from a philosophical perspective, before we're giving children the details they'll actually need as they become young adults who are making decisions for their own health and that of others. I also think it's inappropriate to have something that is largely philosophical, faith-based in nature in our public educational system. While I think that is a valuable belief that is held by some faith groups and should be a conversation parents have with their children, I don't think it is a valuable conversation to have in public schools because it is not a universally held assumption. And so to kind of have this assumption that life begins at contraception is to say, well, there is a default right answer that we expect to be taught to children. And if you're opting out, even though there's an opt-out option, I fear that it is still implying that your faith beliefs that may not agree are wrong. I do think that we have a lot of room for growth in public health education. And I would love to be involved in that. I know that there are a lot of pediatricians who would love to be involved in developing better curriculum that could meet the needs of the young people of Kentucky. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is the forefront in recommendations for pediatrics and for children's health, has a lot of guidelines talking about when it is appropriate to start talking about different aspects of health, especially sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy, family planning, the maintenance of healthy pregnancies, the maintenance of healthy relationships, which is something I do see as a very concerning feature in some of our young people's lives. I think that there are a lot of content out there that we could use and that we could adapt to make a fantastic sexual education program here in the state of Kentucky that does not need to rely on this particular slant and this particular view that's being presented by this video. And if anyone would be interested in that, I would love to give more recommendations, and I think there's a lot of experts who would be happy to be involved in that aspect. And I appreciate your time, and if there's any questions I can help answer, I would be happy to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I think I just want to stop for a second and just to clarify, say, this is really just a starting point. Nowhere in this bill does it actually indicate where in a curriculum this might fit in. This is a concept. It is an example of a human growth and development video which could be shown. No one is saying that it needs to be this one. Mm-hmm. This doesn't really opine religiosity or, it really is just a very general starting point for a conversation with kids. I agree that we need a more robust sex education program in our schools, and maybe this could be a starting point. This is very general. This is not even as scientific as I would go as a former neonatal intensive care nurse for nearly 20 years. We're beginning a conversation here. I invite parents and educators and our physician groups to be involved in this conversation and building a strong conversation. That's really all this is. So I just wanted to interject a little bit. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
May I respond?
Of course.
I do think I like the idea of there being a starting point. I fear that this is, by the nomenclature alone of baby Olivia, very much starting on the wrong foot, that we are drawing inspiration from a source that is not like a scientifically backed pediatric or other healthcare focus. It is very much from a group that has a philosophical and political agenda. I think I'm nervous about the first step being one that is so tightly connected to a ideology that is not going to be universal. And I think public education about health and the human body, which is largely a universal concept, is something that should definitely have a more secular nature in the conversation and have it be more focused on a healthcare and medicine perspective and not from groups that have other things in their minds when they're producing this kind of video or other resources.
Yeah, thank you. I understand your position, and again, this is an example of a video that could be shown. Okay, thank you. I heard a motion and a second on the bill. We still have a few people who wanted to speak. I'm going to allow Katarina Hoskins, who is a health educator, and then Michael Johnson to speak, and then I'll invite Representative Tate back to the table. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. My name is Katarina Hoskins. I'm a public school educator and sexual health researcher here in Kentucky, and I'm here in opposition of House Bill 346. My concern with the bill in question today centers around the lack of protection offered against medically inaccurate materials for our students. Content like what this bill suggests has already been developed and required in other states. However, this content is proven to be riddled with scientific inaccuracies and misinformation, which is what we will be exposing our students to if we move forward with this bill. As many of us scientists know, repeated misleading information not only changes responses in developing children, but also directly alters their memory, perspective, and view of reality. Adolescents are already seeking alternative sources for sexual health information online due to the lack of access they are receiving at school. This has led to a greater spread of misinformation and put our young people at greater risk, especially in HPV and pregnancy prevention, as I have firsthand experienced when teaching health courses to young middle school and high school mothers in this district. Kentucky has already deeply limited student access to accurate and comprehensive health education in the years leading up to middle school when these videos would be shown. Do we really want our students' first exposure to this important scientific content to be inaccurate in any way? Our students trust us to provide them with in-depth and accurate sources of information, especially with topics that will so deeply affect their lives. By moving forward with this bill, we will continue to diminish trust in our educational system and fail at our responsibility to do the best we can for our students. In 2023, over 50% of our Kentucky students scored below the proficiency level in science for our overall content assessments. Our state and our students deserve better than this, and we will not achieve a higher standard by continuing to diminish access to accurate information and an opportunity for curiosity. I hope you consider all of this today. Moving forward with this bill is dangerous and a gross injustice to the next generation we have been tasked to raise. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Johnson, please.
All right. Yeah, for the record, I'm Michael Johnson, Director of Policy for the Family Foundation here in support of House Bill 346. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members, for allowing me a few minutes to briefly speak on this important issue. I want to emphasize that this House Bill 346 merely requires factual information to be presented, and it's information on human growth and development, something that is important for our kids to know. It's requiring it to be consistent with the latest state-of-the-art technology and knowledge, and it does so in a manner that conveys complexity, the meaning and essence of complex ideas in a more effective manner, right? There's a reason that we have the adage that a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then how much more is a video worth? As a father of four, including a 4-month-old at home, I can tell you from recent firsthand experience that ultrasound videos and photos and even all of the apps that are available to see the computer-generated animated reality of what is occurring in the womb was so helpful for my kids to understand what is taking place inside mommy's womb, right? Inside mommy's belly, what's going on? And I think that our kids, I mean, shouldn't our middle school and high school kids have access to that information? Shouldn't that be part of what they're being taught in school? To be honest with you, I'm a little surprised at the controversy that's been presented here today of some of the allegations that have been made, but House Bill 346 doesn't specify a specific video, right? It doesn't require any particular version of a video or computer-generated rendering or animation. Rather, it allows local schools and teachers the freedom to decide what works best for their classroom. Honestly, my personal favorite of the video that would meet these requirements that I've seen is National Geographic's documentary titled "In the Womb." And if I were a teacher and able to make that choice, that's probably the video that I would show. It's amazing what we know now of the development in the womb. And as far as accusations that this is compelling students to view something or forcing something down somebody's throat or a particular ideology, honestly, for whatever reason, if a parent objects, then the child doesn't see the video, right? And it's without penalty. They're excused from it. They have an alternative assignment. In fact, parents are given at least 2 weeks' notice that this video would be shown. They're given the opportunity to review it. And then after that, they have to affirmatively give written consent for the student to view it. If not, it's not going to, the students aren't going to take place. And so there's no indoctrination happening, right? There's no compelling here. But I think as the National Geographic documentary that I mentioned explained, using new 3D and 4D scanning techniques, a window has opened on the womb. revealing that the fetus behaves in a much more complex way than previously imagined. I urge you to pass House Bill 346 and give Kentucky students the opportunity to look through that window and learn the complexities of human development that was unknown to previous generations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your being here. Okay. Representative Tate, you want to come back? And I think we have a few questions. We'll go ahead and allow some questions. Representative Wilner.
Thank you. Gosh, where to start? First of all, let me clarify. I think the gentleman who spoke last said that this would acquire affirmative approval of the parents to opt in to viewing the video. So nobody sees this unless their parents sign a form and say, yes, my child may watch this. Is
That's
that
correct. After they're given a 2-week notice to view the information. That's correct.
So it's an opt-in and not an opt-out.
That's correct.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And I was going to ask you, may I ask another question? Thank you. I was going to ask, we saw the Baby Olivia video. I have lots of thoughts about that.
Sure.
But can you name other videos that would meet the criteria of this bill?
I think Michael Johnson just referred to one for the National Geographic, In the Womb. So I think that is an absolutely applicable video if chosen to view that.
Okay. May I continue? Thank you. I just wanted to comment briefly. I think, well, this is an area that I'm really passionate about. I taught lifespan development for over 20 years. College level. So a lot of times we're hearing bills where I'm learning all kinds of stuff, and I feel like I bring a certain amount of to this conversation. So I think probably a lot of us in this room would be really surprised at how little our kids know. I'm hearing from school personnel now that because of Senate Bill 150 last year, elementary school kids who are coming to them who've started their periods and don't know why they're bleeding, don't even understand it, and they're not able to, the school personnel don't feel safe to be able to tell them this is what's happening. And so we're talking about an incredibly vulnerable population of students who are coming in as blank slates. And I think we have such a responsibility, educators have such a responsibility, we have such a responsibility to make sure that our kids, what they are receiving is completely medically accurate. I saw so many things that gave me heartburn in this video. I could go through the list. I think we heard some of them, but one of them was, this is the moment that life begins, and it was that moment when the sperm penetrates the ovum, and that's not even when pregnancy begins. So there's so much debate. Pregnancy begins at implantation, and dates of pregnancy start at the moment of from the last menstrual period, not from that moment. So there's so much information in here that's wrong. And if we had a version of this bill that explicitly banned this kind of inaccurate information, and that we were providing kids with, like the National Geographic video, that would be awesome. I'm for that. But I think we're doing our kids real harm by promoting this particular and calling the bill the Baby Olivia law. It's certainly very clear what the intention is, and I'm very uncomfortable with it. I think we're going to be doing a lot of harm to a lot of kids.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Rourke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a few brief comments. So I've spoke on the floor about the increased importance of family planning given Kentucky state laws right now. As someone who is of a pregnancy age, who is married to her high school sweetheart, when I look back over the bill and look at some of the language in our curriculum these days, I mean, of course, we're still talking about, abstinence only before marriage. And as someone who, was taught that curriculum, who went through the that tape example that was shared earlier about, saving yourself for marriage and the importance of that, those are definitely thoughts that were shared with me as a young person that ultimately led me to be very uncomfortable in the marriage setting, and did not create a feeling of that mutual love that you're supposed to feel when you do get married. Well, thank you. And so I think the shame that people have mentioned today when we don't teach things scientifically accurate, medically accurate way has definitely left a lasting impact on my life. So I just wanted to share that. I also share the concerns that the bill doesn't specifically require medically accurate, scientifically factual information as a safeguard. I think that would greatly increase the strength of the bill. A mandatory video, I think the words in the language in the bill are shall include and the words and. So once curriculum is developed, these are pieces that would be required to be shown. I'm not sure what happens at the 3-minute point of why we're being so specific about the use of a video and the length of the video. I'm not sure what happens at 3 minutes, and I hope that you can answer that question later. But again, with the title at the end, with the way that the bill will be nomenclatured, I think it's clear that this is a video that we're recommending that I have deep concerns with. And also just wanted to briefly share again around implantation and the beginning of pregnancy being when the sperm and egg combine to the uterine wall, and even where attachment at that uterine wall can have such a important role in the viability and high risk nature of a pregnancy. And that is something that, again, given my age and my situation right now, I think is deeply concerning, and it's never something that was brought up in curriculum when I was taught in school. As many as 2/3 of embryos fail to implant. So I think that's a really important piece. So we talked a little bit about viability. I think the importance here is if we're going to be showing our kids a video, I think it's really important that we're not just talking about what happens during pregnancy if everything goes to plan, as normal. Mm-hmm. A lot of times things don't go normal and as planned, and that is really scary for our young people to be experiencing. It's scary for our spouses, it's scary for our partners. Absolutely. And to not receive information in videos and other curriculum that actually talks about how you get pregnant, to actually talk about sexual intercourse, I think is a disservice to our young people. And as it was before mentioned, putting the cart before the horse. Mm-hmm. So I think those are some of my main concerns with the bill. And I think the other thing that's really concerning to people as they learn what family planning is and about their family, another thing that's deeply concerning when you're a child and you are growing up with mom is what happens when pregnancies end. And often that's very deeply troubling to a child. And even if I were to have known what that process looked like as a child, to then know that what a mother is going through would also be very disheartening to me. So I think it was mentioned that wouldn't it be great if our children knew what was going on with pregnant women. Mm-hmm. And I think it's also really important that they know that sometimes things don't happen the way that we want them to, and that's a very important lesson to learn as a child as well. And I think all of these pieces in the legislation don't actively get to that goal. Mm-hmm. And so it's not something that I plan to be supportive of, and hope that we can continue this conversation to work on what that curriculum could actually look like to help our young people better understand so they don't get to a place where they're almost 27 and still are learning about their body.
Sure. And you touched on so many different things in that in your comments, and I appreciate those. One of the things that you talked about was the 3-minute video and why it says 3 minutes. And the reason why is because it's very easy to depict with a video such as this that you can talk about the spectacular growth and development of the baby in the womb in as little as 3 minutes. And that's why that's so important. It doesn't take a long length of time or a long conversation to depict the spectacular growth. I also want to add that this is not supposed to take place of the sexual education that should be or could be being taught in the schools, or abstinence that's currently being taught in the school. The thought is that they would all work together in order to include and make sure the children are educated. The other part that you talked about was whenever a pregnancy doesn't go as expected. So I've also filed a House bill that talks specifically about perinatal palliative care. And I don't want to take up this committee meeting talking about that, but you're absolutely right. One of my goals is to make sure that the mother and the family have the support that they need whenever the pregnancy isn't healthy as we want. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 more questions. Okay. Representative Camuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have 3 questions, if that's okay. They're brief. Should be brief.
One question is, and I'm just curious, in health services and not education, because this pertains directly to education of our students. I work for a public school district, and my husband's in his 27th year teaching fifth grade. And much to Rep. Rourke's point, or Rep. Wilner's, sorry, about the lack of sex education and what happens to children's bodies during puberty is a big concern. So can you tell me why we're hearing that here and
I think
not
that's
in
an
education?
excellent question. I think it's an excellent question, and actually I think it would apply to either one of them because this is obviously about medical, about the growth and development, scientific, medical, and so those are things that we need to communicate to our children. And so again, this bill does not require live actions video. It just requires that the spectacular growth of the human development in the womb is communicated. So therefore, the children, and it's age appropriate, understand what's depicting. And you can see that this is very age appropriate. It doesn't show anything pornographic. It doesn't show anything that, we can debate when conception starts. We can debate when life starts. We can debate all that, but it doesn't show anything that would be inappropriate from a pornographic perspective.
Thank you for that answer. And you actually brought up a good point. There are a couple of things that I think are non-debatable in medical science. Like we can say, we know when a pregnancy begins. We can say when implantation occurs. So there are some things not up for debate. But my next question pertaining to education and making sure we're doing age-appropriate education for our students, what input did you seek from education experts at KDE, American Federation of Teachers, KEA, Kentucky Association of School Superintendents, or school administrators?
Yeah.
What input did you seek from them?
I did not seek any because as far as I'm concerned, it's the purview of the General Assembly in order to determine things like this, whether or not that this type of legislation and this type of information should be shared with our children.
So not defer to medical experts?
Well, you asked me about excuse me. You asked me.
I'm sorry.
You said
Education experts.
Education experts. You did ask me that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's correct.
Sorry.
That's correct.
Sorry. Then that leads me to my next question. What input did you seek from the leading medical experts, the KMA here in Kentucky, the AMA, American Academy of Pediatrics, ACOG, to make sure that we are teaching medically accurate information to children at an age-appropriate level?
And again, as Rep. Mosier has pointed out, as Chair Mosier has pointed out, this bill does not require live action video, that Baby Olivia video, but it does require age-appropriate, accurate information to be, and so therefore, I'm not requiring any particular thing. So I don't know that your question is appropriate because I'm not requiring this video to be shown.
But I think if we're discussing something about medical...
Okay, we're not going to be able to debate every single question here.
Right.
So I think we're going to go on.
I'm sorry, but medical accuracy is extremely important to me. And I will say, I have 2 kids. I've been pregnant 3 times.
And you know what? And
so
you're in the right place then.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're about here.
That's exactly right.
And that's why, actually, this bill is being heard in this committee. Thank you.
That's correct. All right.
Okay, Representative Burke, last question.
Thank you, Chair. I have just one question. Well, I'll just ask one question, and then I have a couple remarks.
Sure.
If there is not a direct intent for the video to be shown to our students to be the live action Baby Olivia video,
sure,
why are we calling the act the Baby Olivia Act?
Because the whole intent of Baby Olivia is for there to be accurate information communicated at an age-appropriate level, communicating the spectacular growth of the baby in the womb.
Well, I appreciate your answer, although I find it alarming and disingenuous. I have several remarks, and I'll make them quick since we need to move on. The people who spoke in opposition to this bill were exceedingly generous in calling this misleading, biased information, misinformation, when in fact it's disinformation that will harm students in Kentucky. We already have a high teenage pregnancy rate, and that's because our students don't know how babies are made. So if the intent of the sponsor is to educate Kentucky students about sexual health and reproduction and the beauty of the creation of children, which I also believe in. You and I are not as far apart as you might think. If that is the intent, then what we should have done is create a work group where we could come together and workshop how to give the best education to our students possible. What we've done here is name an act after an inflammatory video that really has a very narrow Christian perspective. I too am a Christian. I'm a deacon in my church. I left the church I grew up in because of the abstinence-only education I received and the sexual trauma I experienced. And in my church, it wasn't tape, it was a rose. And if you have sex with a man, petals are pulled off your rose.
I'm sorry.
That was traumatic. It led to mental health issues, loss of faith. I was blessed to find a church that could heal that for me. I don't want that for other Christian students. I don't want that for Jewish students. I don't want that for Muslim students. I don't want that for any Kentucky students. And we, through that particular video that is named in this act, we're giving a very, very narrow view of the biggest question that God puts before us. And I do think this is a matter of faith. I do. And not everyone does, but I do. I share that perspective. And I think God doesn't prescribe for us. We can debate what I knit you together in your mother's womb means. And that is going to mean something different for every Christian and people who are not of our faith. Kentucky is much bigger than the various types of Christianity, and particularly the one that's being pushed by the Baby Olivia video. Our students deserve better. If we want to pass this bill, take the name Baby Olivia off of it, take it back to a workshop where we can work together to make something that's better. We want the same thing, I think, but the way you're going about it makes me wonder if we do. So if what we want is for children to be educated, for pregnancies to be prevented through good education, and I mean, I think you know what I mean.
I'm not sure that I do, but that's okay.
Well, then
That's okay.
This is the way that we don't do that. So if you would like to work on trying to make Kentucky a healthier state, then let's scrap this and start from the beginning. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
I might make one comment.
Yes.
The language is very clear. A high definition ultrasound video, at least 3 minutes in duration, showing the development of the brain, heart, sex organs, and other vital organs in early fetal development. I'm not sure what's narrow about that. I'm not sure what is propaganda or what is an agenda. I'm not sure exactly how this is even controversial. The intent of the bill is education, period. And I think it's broad, yet specific where it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I agree with you, Representative Callaway. I was just going to say this is really kind of a starting point, as we said earlier, a broad and general look at human growth and development. It is in no way meant to shame or stigmatize or do any of the things that have been discussed here, but may be incorporated into a curriculum that is developed by teachers, parents. The hope is that we bring people together to better educate our kids. So that is really the intent. We have a motion and a second on the bill, and I think we're going to go ahead and take the roll.
Representative Bentley.
Yes.
I think the ability to educate is the key. Now, when you take, most people don't know the difference between mitosis and meiosis, or what a haploid or diploid are. And when you finally get to that point, and you get to the blastocyte is what implants in the lining of the womb, the endometrium.
Are you a yes?
I'm a yes.
Thank you.
I'll quit right there.
And if we were to create a video like that, none of us but you would understand that. The children wouldn't understand that. That's the age appropriate.
I've taught it for 31 years at college level.
That's all right.
And
It's
I've
not
had
age
people come
appropriate,
up
it's
to
my
me
point.
at 22 and say, if I'd had your class before, I would have known what Menses was.
Yeah.
So we really need to put more facts out there and educate more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Bray.
Yes.
Representative Burke.
The baby Olivia video is not an ultrasound video. I'm a no.
Representative Callaway.
Absolutely, yes.
Representative Camuel.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes.
And thank you for entertaining my questions. I am a no today. I do feel like showing, even to this committee and to viewers watching at home, a medically inaccurate video for a bill using the name of the video in the bill name from a group that is actually a known hate group is Kentuckians are undeserving of that. I do think that what we do deserve is age-appropriate sex education, not medically inaccurate, misleading video produced by an anti-abortion group. What we know is sex education empowers young people to grow into healthy, well-adjusted adults and learn the respect and compassion for all people, including those who are different from them. I do believe, again, that the young people in the state of Kentucky deserve the best opportunity to build the lives they want for themselves. Real sex education, not false.
Thank you so much. You're explaining your vote.
Representative Dotson.
May I briefly explain? For all the naysayers that absolutely hate the video, I absolutely loved it. And the reason being is when I watched it, it tugged at my heart. It showed that there was not just a clump of cells inside of a womb, that it was a growing, living child. So for that reason, I support it fully. Thank you.
Representative Duval.
Yes.
Representative Fraser Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Justice. Representative Neighbors.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Riley. Yes. Representative Rourks.
No.
Representative Sharp.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment, please. Brief comment. What I'm hearing here, most people in opposition of this, Representative Tate, Representative Callaway, are more against the source of the information than the information. I'm a definite yes today.
Representative Wilner.
May I briefly comment?
Yes.
I'm a no today. I really do think that we need comprehensive, age-appropriate, medically accurate sex education, and I hope we could find a time to work together in ways that would really help our kids learn, but I'm a no on this bill.
Representative Whidden.
Yes.
Chair Mosier.
Yes. Okay, House Bill 346 is amended by the committee sub, passes with 14 yes votes, 4 no votes, no passes, and the same should pass on the House floor. Thank you so much for this very good conversation.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate everyone's input.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Manny.
Okay, next, we will hear House Bill 534. Representative Duvall, make your way to the table, and if you have any guests, invite them and introduce yourself. And please proceed.
Robert Duvall, House District 17, Warren County.
Trey Grayson with Frost Brown Todd.
We do have a committee sub. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the sub? Any opposed? All right, please proceed.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity today. We are dealing with an opioid crisis that is causing devastating effects on families and our workplaces across the Commonwealth. According to the CDC, 220 people in the U.S. died each day from opioid overdose in 2021. In 2022, 90% of overdose deaths involve opioids, claiming a total of 2,135 Kentucky lives. However, I do have some good news. Kentucky was one of 8 states in 2022 that saw a significant decrease in overdose death. Our state has been very intentional and proactive in this fight, and we are starting to see us move the needle in the right direction. And House Bill 534 will help us move the needle a little further. Yes, the House Committee sub changed the wording from naloxone to opioid antagonist. This ensures that all FDA-approved opioid overdose reversal medications are covered in the language of this bill, so we don't have to come back and keep changing it in the future. Let me just say one thing about the bill. It simply states that Medicaid and health care plans regulated by Kentucky shall not require prior authorization on medications that specifically combat opioids. This will streamline the process for treatment when time is of the essence, and it will save lives.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have a motion. Do we have a motion on the bill? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the bill as amended by the committee substitute. Do we have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, please take the roll.
Representative Bentley?
Yes.
Representative Bratcher?
Yes.
Representative Bray? Yes. Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Camuel?
Yes.
Representative Dotson?
Yes.
Representative Duval?
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon? Representative Justice? Representative Neighbors?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Raymer?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Rorks? Representative Sharp?
Aye.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Representative Whidden?
Yes.
Chair Mosier?
Yes. Okay. House Bill 533, as amended by the committee substitute, passes unanimously. The same should pass on the House floor. Congratulations and thank you for bringing this legislation. Next, we will hear House Bill 618, relating to the modernization of disease testing. Representative Danny Bentley. Just please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Lady. My name is Danny R. Bentley, District 98 of the Great Commonwealth, State of Kentucky. Today, I am discussing House Bill 618, and I'll give the short version because we're running behind. House Bill 618 will level the playing field for STI. STI and STD is interchangeable testing related to criminal convictions in Kentucky. It will require testing.
We have a motion and a second on the bill.
I got 2 more sentences.
Okay.
It will require testing for all STIs that could have a serious health impact on a victim instead of just HIV. And it will standardize the penalties for potential STI transmission in certain cases instead of singling out HIV for higher penalties. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the bill. Do we have any questions? All right, seeing no questions or discussion, please take the roll.
Representative Bentley?
Yes.
Representative Bratcher?
Yes.
Representative Bray?
Yes.
Representative Burke?
Yes.
Representative Callaway?
Yes.
Representative Camuel?
Yes.
Representative Dotson?
Yes.
Representative Duval?
Yes.
Representative Frazier Gordon? Yes. Representative Justice? Representative Neighbors?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Raymer?
Yes.
Representative Riley? Yes. Representative Rorks? Representative Sharp?
Aye.
Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Representative Whidden? Yes. Chair Mosier?
Yes. House Bill 618, passes with 17 yes votes, no votes. The same should pass on the House floor. And do you want to stay put and introduce your guest?
I have with me a constituent from Greenham County over Economic Development, Aaron Thompson. He's in the back of the room visiting today.
Wonderful. Welcome, Aaron. Thank you for being here. Okay. Yes, we have some members who need to record a few votes. Representative Rorks?
Chair, will you record a yes vote on House Bill 534 and 618?
Yes, ma'am. Do we have any other members who need to record any votes? Okay. Okay. All right. See no further business to come before this committee. We are adjourned. Thank you.